You wanna watch something? The Diddy situation? Do you guys even know the whole thing? I actually don't know the whole thing. Let's watch something and watch someone explain.
So it turns out, mo money, mo problems.
Nice. I like these edits when I watch stuff.
I am so sorry for that. But federal agents from Homeland Security joined with local law enforcement to raid Sean Combs, aka Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes in what may be a sex trafficking investigation. You cannot make this up. And you might remember the DHS was also involved in the investigation of R. Kelly, which eventually led to his conviction on many different counts of very unseemly felonies. Law enforcement reportedly seized electronic devices and weapons, but we don't know exactly what the police were looking for during the search or if Combs is even the target.
You sure this isn't Diddy?
It is Diddy.
I knew it!
At least 5 people have now sued Combs for sexual assault, harassment, rape, and sex trafficking. His co-defendants include actor Cuba Gooding Jr., the president of Bad Boy Records, and Diddy's 2 adult sons. So what in the world is going on with Diddy? Well, the allegations against Combs started in late 2023 when several lawsuits were filed against him in New York court. But as we've talked about many times on this channel, in 2022, New York passed the Adult Survivors Act, which was meant to allow survivors of sexual assault that occurred when they were over the age of 18 to sue their abusers regardless of when the abuse occurred. So the act opened a 1-year window from November 24th, 2022 to November 24th, 2023 for people to sue their alleged assailants even if the statute of limitations had expired. We discussed this in the context of E. Jean Carroll's lawsuit against Donald Trump. By the way, we're gonna try and keep things PG-13 in this video, but be aware that we're going to be discussing some sensitive topics, including various different acts of sexual assault that are alleged to have happened. If that's not your cup of tea, that's totally cool. You can wait for the next one because these allegations are pretty insane. So let's break down these lawsuits because they might be related to the raid on Combs' house. First, singer Cassandra Ventura, whose stage name is Cassie, sued Combs for sexual assault on November 23rd, 2023, the day before the statute of limitations expired. Combs signed Cassie to a deal with Bad Boy Records when she was 19. She says they began a relationship and Combs then, quote, asserted complete control over Miss Ventura's personal and professional life. Ventura alleged that she was trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. She alleged that Combs raped her, beat her, and forced her to get prescription drugs for him. She said that numerous people witnessed him punching her over the years, and Ventura said that Combs' home contained hundreds of cameras. Ventura alleges that she left Combs several times, but that his associates found her and compelled her to return to him using threats that he would destroy her career. After one of her escapes, she said Combs, quote, raped her while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. Ventura also said that Combs, quote, blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. That man was allegedly Kid Cudi. Cudi later corroborated Ventura's allegations in the New York Times. And as for comment, Tupac's ghost said, yeah, that checks out. In the next lawsuit, Joy Dickerson-Neal also sued Combs on November 23rd. She alleges that she was, quote, drugged, sexually assaulted, and abused, and was a victim of revenge porn that Combs created and distributed. Dickerson-Neal said that when she was a college student in 1991, she often had dinner with Combs. After one of these dinners, Combs allegedly, quote, intentionally drugged Miss Dickerson, resulting in her being in a physical state where she could not independently stand or walk. Driving first to a music studio where she could not get out of a car, Combs proceeded to a place he was staying to sexually assault her, as was his practice, but unbeknownst to Miss Dickerson, Combs' video recorded the sexual assault. Days later, a male friend revealed to her that he had viewed the sex tape along with other men. Horrified, Miss Dickerson asked how many others saw it, to which he responded, everyone. Dickerson-Neal said Devontae Swing, a member of the R&B group Jodeci, is the person who told her that he had seen the sex tape. She sued Combs under the Adult Survivors Act, Victims and Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act, and the New York Human Trafficking Law. And in the third lawsuit on November 27th, 2023, Lisa Gardner sued Combs, Aaron Hall, MCA, and several John Does, alleging that they assaulted her in violation of the Adult Survivors Act. Gardner said that she and a friend met Hall and Combs at a nightclub. They went back to Hall's apartment where she says they were forced to have sex with both men. Gardner was 16 at the time.
What?
On December 6th, an as-yet unnamed Jane Doe filed a lawsuit under New York City's Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Law. The GMVPL is a New York City law that allows women and men to file civil lawsuits for injuries that result specifically from gender-based violence that occurred within New York City. The City Council passed a look-back window that extended the statute of limitations to March 1st, 2025. The Jane Doe alleged that, quote, in 2003, when she was only 17 years old and in the 11th grade, Miss Doe was sex trafficked and gang raped by Mr. Combs, Mr. Pierre, and the third assailant. Combs was 34 at the time. Mr. Pierre is Harvey Pierre, the president of Bad Boy Entertainment. The complaint says that the third assailant's name will be revealed during discovery. Jane Doe says that the men met her at a nightclub in Detroit and promised to introduce her to Combs. They allegedly escorted her to a private jet and flew her to a recording studio in New Jersey, where she met Combs. The plaintiff alleges that they plied her with drugs and alcohol and then gang raped her. Now, Combs has released a statement denying everything, quote,
Oh my god, what the fuck? Why am I getting raided right now? Jimmy! Jimmy, this is a bad time. We're watching what happened with P. Diddy.
This is a bombshell.
We're basically trying to learn what happened to P. Diddy. But thank you for the raid. Hey guys, please give a shout out to Jimmy. Cause okay, basically I keep seeing the Diddy case, so I wanted to. No. So I wanted to see what's up, like what was going on. But thank you so much for the raid.
For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear, I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth. Now, the first lawsuits against Combs involved acts that allegedly happened decades ago, but then Combs' producer, Rodney Jones, filed a complaint alleging that Combs was involved in sex trafficking during the making of his latest album. Jones sued Combs and several other defendants, claiming that Combs forced him to procure people for sex, and that he sexually harassed and drugged Jones. Really puts a different spin on that whole Uber commercial now.
Milkshakes cost way less than before. This membership is better.
Hey, yo, you like milkshakes?
Jones claims to have video of Combs and his associates and family engaged in illegal activity. Quote, Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones' cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. He alleges that he has irrefutable evidence regarding, quote, the acquisition, use, and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, Mr. Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes in California, New York, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Florida, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, instructing her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide it to Mr. Combs for his consumption, Christian Combs, who is Diddy's son, drugging and sexually assaulting a woman, Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, young Miami's cousin or assailant sexually assaulting Mr. Jones, and actor Cuba Gooding Jr. sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones. Jones claims that Sean Combs or his son Justin shot a man identified as G during a writers and producers camp at Chalice Recording Studio in Los Angeles on September 12, 2022. The complaint includes photographs which allegedly show, quote, the aftermath of the restroom where G was shot by either Mr. Combs or J. Combs. Jones says that Combs told everyone to tell police that the man was hit as part of a drive-by shooting that took place some distance from the studio and that he ran into the studio bathroom. Jones also said that he still has the clothing he wore on the day of the shooting, which he says might contain DNA from the victim. Jones alleges that Combs and his son hid from police in another studio. Combs, of course, denies all these allegations. The police have not commented on the lawsuit. However, the LAPD say that the victim told him that he was approached by two men when he was getting in his car. After a struggle, they shot him in the torso, and 2 months later, the police arrested 3 men who they alleged were responsible for the shooting, in addition to other robberies around LA. The Jones complaint includes photographs, some of them graphic, that allegedly depict the incidents he describes. For example, Jones claims that this photo depicts Mr. Jones and Mr. Combs on Thanksgiving Day, right before Mr. Combs invites Mr. Jones into the restroom and attempted to force him to take cocaine. Jones says that on, quote, February 4th, 2023, Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring prostitutes and sex workers back to his home in Miami, Florida. He recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused. He was in bed with 2 sex workers and Mr. Combs. He also recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. And the photos above the text allegedly show the sex workers that Combs forced Jones to bring to his home. Jones says that he was forced to procure sex workers for Combs, quote, as part of Mr. Jones' sex worker recruitment tools, Mr. Combs provided Mr. Jones with an exclusive bad boy baseball cap and required him to wear it to booby trap on the river as a signal to any sex worker he approached that Mr. Combs was in town and had sent Mr. Jones to recruit them. As you can see, there are photographs of people who allegedly participated in this scheme. Jones says that Combs used the same tactics of control on him as he did with Cassie, promises of industry success and money. Jones claims that Combs, quote, promised him a Grammy for Producer of the Year for the Love album. He offered him $250,000 to purchase all of the instruments he...
You think, like, these shows are rigged like that?
wanted. He promised him ownership of his $20 million property, One Star Island in Miami, Florida. And some of the most serious allegations against Combs are that he, quote, solicits drugs and engages in illicit sex acts with minors and sex workers.
Why do they like
The complaint
children?
includes photographs that
Why?
purportedly show a party where this occurred, and the complaint includes screenshots of actor Cuba Gooding Jr. allegedly assaulting Jones. And Jones amended his lawsuit to add Gooding as a co-defendant. Gooding has been sued for sexual assault before. In 2013, he settled a federal lawsuit that accused him of rape. And in 2022, he pled guilty to a single harassment charge after 3 women accused him of sexual harassment and assault. He avoided jail time, though. However, it's important to note that it's not clear what's happening in these photos, nor do we know what's on the video that Jones claims to have. Combs' lawyer, Sean Hawley, told the New York Times that Jones is, quote, nothing more than a liar who filed a $30 million lawsuit shamelessly looking for an undeserved payday. His reckless name-dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines. We have overwhelming, indisputable proof that his claims are complete lies. And then on Monday, March 25th, Homeland Security and local law enforcement executed search warrants on Combs' mansion in Los Angeles and his compound in Miami. Investigators also stopped Combs at the Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport and seized a number of electronic devices from him. Investigators also arrested Brendan Paul at the airport and charged him with possession of cocaine and marijuana. And Jones's lawsuit accused Paul of being Combs' mule, acquiring and distributing drugs and guns, as well as negotiating fees for prostitutes. According to the New York Times, the criminal inquiry is being conducted by federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and federal agents with Homeland Security. The New York Times also had a source say that federal investigators in New York have been conducting interviews asking potential witnesses about sexual misconduct allegations against Combs for several months. And at this point, the government is being pretty tight-lipped about the substance of the investigation. But we can make some educated guesses.
Yes.
The first thing to notice is that Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI, was involved in these search warrant executions, not the FBI. HSI is a part of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It focuses on transnational crime, that is, crime that involves crossing the US border. And they have a pretty broad purview and can investigate everything from terrorism to narcotics to human trafficking. So whatever it is they're investigating Combs for, you can bet it involves movement over the border. The second thing to notice is the Southern District of New York, which usually we talk about in the Trump context. But according to the New York Times, federal prosecutors in the Southern District are running the criminal inquiry. The Southern District also happens to be the place that Jane Doe and Rodney Jones filed their lawsuits against Combs. Of course, that's also the place that Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit, but A, that was settled within 1 day, and B, it doesn't make any allegations that seem likely to attract the interest of federal prosecutors, except for maybe that car bomb. But we can look through the allegations of Doe and Jones through the lens of federal criminal law.
Holy shit.
Jane Doe says that she was 17 years old at the time that she was taken from Michigan to New York and raped by Combs. Doe's allegations, if true, would likely constitute a violation of the Mann Act, 18 U.S.C. 2423. That's the statute that says a person who knowingly transports an individual who has not attained the age of 18 years in interstate or foreign commerce or in any Commonwealth territory or possession of the United States with intent that the individual engage in any sexual activity in which any person can be charged with a criminal offense shall be fined under this title or imprisoned, blah, 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 blah. And Doe's allegations seem to meet all of those elements if they want to make a federal case out of it. And the fact that this allegedly occurred over 20 years ago doesn't matter. The Mann Act has no statute of limitations. But this also seems like the kind of case
I would not go to a Diddy party.
the FBI would investigate, not
Hell
Homeland
no.
Security. So it's reasonable to have some doubt that Doe's allegations are the ones that prompted the criminal inquiry into Combs. But then there's Jones's allegations. His are far more complex and more likely to bring HSI to the table. Jones also makes it kind of easy. His first cause of action is civil RICO, the kind of RICO that never works. And here's the gist of his civil RICO claim. Quote, defendants have unlawfully increased their profits by luring and deceiving producers, musicians, writers, creators, and artists such as plaintiff to transport drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, transport firearms, solicit minors, exotic dancers, sex workers, and to utilize their talents and labor to produce music and other tangible goods and services without compensation. And to make a civil RICO allegation, Jones has to articulate a pattern of criminal behavior, and he kind of does. Jones says that Combs and others engaged in a pattern of mail fraud in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1341 and wire fraud in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1343. Jones basically alleges that Combs and others used mail and interstate wire communications as part of a scheme to defraud Jones. More interestingly, though, Jones alleges that Combs and others use the mail and wires to obtain and transfer cash payments from purchasers of illegal firearms and drugs and to submit payment to sex workers and prostitutes. And that's a great way to get the attention of the feds. Moreover, Jones's allegations date from September 2022, which is so recent that there would be no statute of limitations. So are the Jones allegations what the feds are looking at? It's definitely possible. Well, Jones's lawsuit is focused on damages for civil wrongs. He does sketch out some serious potential criminal liability.
Can I
and
kill
if
it?
the alleged guns, drugs, or sex workers, adult or underage, crossed the US borders, it makes sense that HSI would be interested. And there's at least enough evidence that a federal magistrate found probable cause to issue a search warrant. Now, reports are that Diddy tried to flee the country to a Caribbean location where he'd await trial in luxury with incredible room service delivering amazing meals directly, which isn't going to happen now unless he uses today's sponsor factor. Because
Jesus, fuck Diddy. Holy shit. What a piece of shit. Like, I can't.